Today, my friends, we're here to break down how you guys can use the Hog Miner Hybrid attack strategy at Town Hall 11. If you guys have heard of this attack from Town Hall 12 and Town Hall 13, well, you can use this at Town Hall 11, and this video is going to show you how to do just that. So if you guys have ever heard of the Miner Hog Hybrid attack, then you may know that this is a mostly Town Hall 12, Town Hall 13 attack, where you'll typically see this with the Royal Champion at Town Hall 13, and you'll probably have a really high level Grand Warden, level 40 to be exact. But usually you'll associate this attack strategy to those two Town Hall levels. But you can still do this at Town Hall 11. Since you have the Grand Warden, it's definitely, you guys should really be trying this out. If you're a fan of miners, then try this one out. Now, unlike the Queen Charge Miner or the Queen Charge Hog, what this strategy doesn't really want you to get is mostly it just wants you to get the enemy CC if it's damage CC, which we're going to show you a couple examples of that. But primarily, another thing is you don't need to worry about the queen. However, still getting the queen is definitely worth it. It's still value. Now, with this attack, we have two different parts of the attack. We have our queen walk / funnel. So you're going to see a siege barrack being used along with the queen charge with the jump spell. Now, you don't need a max jump, so don't worry. You won't need a level 4 jump spell. But the biggest thing here is you want to make sure that you're getting jump value. So we want to first take a look at the base. We're going to take this step by step so it's a little bit easier for you guys to digest. So one of the biggest things that we need to take a look at is where we want to start our charge portion. One of the biggest things to take out, especially at Town Hall, or with this attack strategy at Town Hall 11, primarily is going to be the Eagle. So we want to make sure that what we're doing is we're getting some jump value. So like a jump spell right here around that area would give us access to these two pretty big compartments, meaning that we're going to be able to get a good chunk of value from here. That's a lot of good value. We're going to be able to get the enemy CC and also the Eagle and the Queen. So that's a lot of really good value there for just using the Queen charge. Of course, what we want to make sure that we're doing, though, is using the King and the Baby Dragon to make sure that she doesn't walk on the outside, so that then she doesn't continue to walk. That way, what we're going to be able to do is keep that Queen inside the base and keep her alive for as long as possible to create the funnel and allow those miners and hogs to get through the rest of the base. That's really what we want to try and do here. Now, one of the things that we want to try and make sure that we are doing with this is making sure that the miners and the hogs have easy pathing. If you see any defenses on the outside, then this is a really good time to use the siege barrack, since the siege barrack can spawn in that Mecha and then the wizards right behind it, meaning that you are still going to be able to help create a pathing for your miners and maybe even your hogs as well if there are defenses on the outside. You just got to make sure that you are keeping that in mind when you are dealing with different type of base designs. So if we are actually clearing out this side with a queen charge, then what we're doing here is we're creating a funnel for our miners to go into the base like this. This way, what's going to happen is we're going to be able to keep a lot of them in the base and make sure that they are going through. There are a couple ways of doing the hogs in this. Of course, with miners, you're going to spam them all in. With hogs, you have two options. You can either spam them right behind the miners, or you can actually surgically place them very similar to any hog attack. It's up to you. I would say both of them are very good options, so definitely try out either or and see how you like it. But other than that, it's a very simple attack. So we're going to walk you through this, and we're going to show you guys how to use this a little bit more properly. So the first thing that you're going to be starting off with is going to be the queen walk. So this way, what you're going to be able to do is make sure that you are allowing your queen to walk in the correct area, allow her to charge into the base. Notice that we're not using any of our healers until we have the queen starting to take damage. So that's something really good to keep in mind. I sometimes do this in my farming attacks, so this is definitely something that I've learned over time. So primarily when you are dealing with a base where you cannot pick off an air defense like that, then it might be a good idea to bring a loon or two to distract the air defense. I've been doing that a lot, especially with queen charge miners and farming, so definitely it's a very useful tool. So you may notice that, again, picking off that side of the base, also going to be able to get rid of the eagle and also the queen. This way that what we're doing from the value here is getting rid of the enemy CC, which it could be it's going to be a damage CC. So like we see here, it's a baby dragon or a dragon, witch, and also archer CC, which allows us to use the poison and deal with that fairly easily with the poison, rage, and the queen's ability. So remember, when you're using the rage, that you want to rage up your queen in two areas. Either when she's getting really low on health and you got to keep her alive and you don't want to burn the ability, and when you're dealing with the enemy queen and CC. That's really going to be some two areas that you really want to use your rage spells if you're bringing only two of them. What we now see here is that we're sending our miners in and we're continuing to create the funnel for our miners and our hogs as they move into the base. So when we're using the heal spells, very similar to how you would use them in any hog or miner attack, you want to make sure that you're using them on both. This way what happens is, because the synergy of both hogs and miners works so well, we can have those hogs and miners being healed up at the same time. That's what you really want to try and do. Now, what about healers? If you have any healers that stay alive, then they could actually go in with the rest of your attack as they move in through the base. So sometimes it could be a really good option. Now you'll notice that here is that we're popping the Grand Warren's ability. That ability can either come in later on or early. It really just depends on the attack, or I guess it really depends on how your attack goes. But more specifically with this attack, is you want to make sure that you're using it either on the mid to back end of the base, so that then you have enough miners to get through that. Since one of the biggest things is the hogs are there to support your miners. They're not there to be the main part. The hogs there are primarily supposed to be there to support the miners, since they go for defenses, allowing your miners to take out the rest of the buildings and including those defenses that the hogs are maybe even tanking for. So that just gives you guys a very solid opportunity to learn this. Let's go ahead and move on to the next one. So here is another unique example of using this attack. So for one of the biggest things that we want to make sure that we're doing is using the baby dragon and the king to create the funnel. Notice how far that king is. That's really where we want to sort of strive to place our king when we're actually using any queen charge attack. Because what we want is, if we're placing him here and the gold storage was right here, he's going to move down instead of up more. That's what we want to take advantage of. That's really something that we got to consider. Now, what about the loons in this case? What are we going to use the loons for? So loons are going to be specifically there to mainly look for any seeking air mines, or, use it to sort of hit any air defenses, distract them. But primarily they are going to be used in order to deal with the seeking air mines. This way what we're going to be able to do is still get some sort of value from it. So remember, with the rage spells, is that what you're looking for is to rage up that queen to deal with the enemy CC and either the enemy king, or the enemy queen, and maybe even king if you do come across it. But definitely, like you see right here, dealing with the enemy CC very simply, or very easily is what I meant. But the jump spell is also going to be able to get you a lot of good value. So look for jump value when you are using this attack, because that's really where this attack is going to shine a lot. So on the other side of the base, we have our siege barrack moving in to create the funnel here, while we send everything else moving in this direction. You'll notice again that we are going to be getting the enemy, or we're going to be getting the eagle. And what we're going to be able to now do is make sure that we are getting value still from our funnel, or one from our funnel and two from both our miners and our hogs. So you'll notice that they are working their way in this direction here. Some may split, but we also want to make sure that we're using the Grand Warren's ability, like you saw, sort of midway in the attack, in order to deal with the rest of those defenses, and also to make sure that the hogs and the miners are still alive, staying invincible underneath it. One of the best things about this synergy is, even though the hogs may be hit by the tornado trap, one of the best things is that miners are not affected by it, meaning that the miners will easily be able to get through the base and allow them to be able to really cruise through that trap and onto the defense that's either right by it. So that's great example of how you guys can use this one. Let's go and take a look at another example with this attack. So primarily with this attack strategy, you're going to be dealing a lot with damage CCs if you see them possible. So what you're seeing here is that we've got a couple loons, and they were used primarily to take out the archer tower. This can really be used in, like we see with another loon right there, being able to weaken up that cannon. And primarily the main reason to why is because we want to make sure that we are creating the funnel for our queen charge. We take a look at this area here, we can actually jump into the eagle compartment very, very easily. So what you'll see is that what we're doing here with the king is creating the funnel down this way. Then what we'll do is we'll send in the queen, which she'll go over towards this defense here. Or what we'll do is we'll be able to send in our queen and charge her into the base here. The reason that we're not sending in our healers just yet is because we want to make sure that the loon's tanking, and then we can have the queen take out that air defense. Meaning that now what we've got is the queen's in that compartment taking care of the eagle, and she's going to also be able to take care of a lot of other defenses. Meaning that what we've got right now is we can use the siege barrack on the opposite side of the base to get value. We're going to deal with another baby dragon witch CC. So this is still another great CC, and you'll notice how very easy this attack strategy really is. Dealing with the enemy CC is not that bad. The rage spell is being used primarily to deal with the queen, keep her healed up, dealing with the enemy queen herself as well, and just getting a lot of good value. Well, probably not the enemy queen, but still getting a lot of good value from our funnel. So now what we've got is we've got a funnel created thanks to the queen charge, and we've also got another funnel thanks to the siege barrack. Now this allows us to send in more hogs from that siege barrack to help support the already existing hogs and miners. You may notice the Grand Warden's ability was popped really early this time instead. So mainly it's because you're charging into a multi-inferno. Unlike before, unlike in the previous examples, there were more examples there of, they weren't charging into the multi-inferno and they could just heal over it, but instead here, because there were skelly traps and stuff like that, it made it a little bit more difficult to get through that portion of the base. Meaning that what you had to do is use the Grand Warden's ability. So really with the Grand Warden, you got to make sure that you are using his ability to sort of support the miners and the hogs to keep them alive as they work through the rest of the base, and that's primarily what their job is. So that's definitely another really solid example of using this attack strategy. Very, very simple, and still breaking it down for you guys to hopefully get the understanding of it. But let's go and move on to another example with the Hog Miner Hybrid. So we've got another example here with this attack. So you'll notice, again, very similar army composition. Maybe a couple more miners, like maybe one more miner and one more hog. But primarily, again, what you'll notice is that we are creating the funnel. You'll notice that what we are looking for primarily, what the attacker's looking for, is to use the jump spell right here. One common thing that you may have already started to get the understanding of throughout this whole video is the CC and the eagle. So you may already be noticing a trend there. You may be noticing that getting rid of the eagle is almost a vital part of this attack. So just make sure that you are keeping that in mind. So if we take a look at the CC, it's another damage CC. So what you'll see throughout this entire video, and I think this is a really good way to sort of explain this, is to be able to learn how to deal with the enemy CC and enemy queen if it is something similar to this. So that's definitely something that you guys can really take advantage of and take a learn from with this attack. So with this attack strategy, what you're primarily trying to do is, even if you don't get the eagle, so it is still definitely a common thing that you want to get. It's not always that important. It doesn't actually do as much damage as you may think. But you'll see here is that we're not going for the queen, and instead the miners are going to go for the queen. This way that he can pop the warden ability right over her, allowing him to save using a heal spell over them. And what's also good about that is they lock on to that queen and help support the hogs in that sense. Other than that, it's a very simple attack. You'll notice throughout this entire video, I've really just made that statement over and over, and I'm sorry about that, but at the same time, It's a very simple attack strategy. It really doesn't take too much thought. All you've got to do is make sure that you are looking at value in terms of a specific defense or a specific thing, which is obviously going to be dealing with the enemy CC and also getting value from there. This way what you're able to do is clear and cruise through the rest of the base no matter what there is. Now you may already notice that there is another tornado trap. So just remember with tornado traps is that the miners are not affected by that trap, meaning that what you're going to be able to do is cruise right through it. So I didn't say a little bit earlier in the video, but just to give you guys a little bit of another refresher here, definitely it's still going to be a very, very strong method to both to farm with maybe, and also just to play around with. So definitely try this attack strategy out, but we've got one more example to teach you guys this attack strategy. So on this base design here, you may notice that there is a big sort of dead zone here among this inferno. So we can take advantage of this, and we will be able to take advantage of it, but you may already notice as well is where we're going to be charging into. And of course, like with anything, you also may notice that we have a common trend here with how we are actually doing these attacks. So for instance here, what we're doing is we want to jump into the eagle compartment yet again. We're dealing with the enemy queen, or I'm sorry, we're not really dealing with the enemy queen because we can still deal with that with the miners, but baby dragon and witch CCs, or really any type of damage CC like you saw in this video, they are going to help big time. Now you may also notice here is that the healers are going to go down very, very easily, well at least that one, from that eagle, meaning that what you really want to do is take out that eagle before it could really get those 3 shots especially. But dealing with the enemy CC is going to be fairly easy. Dealing with the enemy dealing with the eagle is really not that hard as well. So dealing with the base design like this is really not that hard. So you may notice that we have a funnel going on with the siege barrack, and then we have the hogs and the miners moving into the base like this. Now you may already notice that the dead zone there, it could prevent those miners from seeing those other structures. However, the hogs will still jump over the wall and go over to get them. But that doesn't mean the miners can't still as well. They will still be able to see those structures and they will move on to them. You may also notice that the healers are moving on to the hogs and the miners. This is a very, very useful thing that can really sometimes come up. So even if your queen dies, that's completely fine, because you can take advantage by using the healers that die or that move away from the queen to the miners and to the hogs, and then you don't really need to use as many heal spells, and you can just have a mobile heal spell there. So definitely just keep that in mind as you are using this attack strategy. But other than that, a very simple attack strategy. I hope you guys learned something from this, something that's a little bit different here on the channel. I know I've covered a lot of miners, but you know, I said I would do a purely hog miner hybrid video, and hey, look at here, I got one at Town Hall 11, so let me know if you guys want to see one at Town Hall 12 and or Town Hall 13, and I will definitely try and do that. Also, let me know in the comments below if you guys want to see any other Town Hall 11 or 12 attacks, and also let me know if you guys want to see a Town Hall 13 only channel, then I will be bringing that one to you guys. Also, feel free to go ahead and join any of the clans I'm covering in the description below. It has a list of what they're recruiting and also their Discord server links. Also, feel free to go ahead and join my community Discord. We're still growing it. And also feel free to follow me on Twitter and Instagram. Check out the video up here on the top. And by the way, if you are new to the channel, why not subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you guys don't miss anything. Check out my last video, the one I did yesterday, then feel free, or I guess a few days ago, definitely check that one out, and maybe even give it a like. And if you're new and you guys want to see more content, then click that one. But with that being said, that's going to do it guys for the video. Hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll be seeing you guys next time. Corrupt, signing out.